upper Midwest, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and the Dakotas. Their customers pretty much cover all of western Wisconsin, all of Minnesota, and for the most part, all of eastern South Dakota and North Dakota, all the major cities and communities. These utilities, the 11 utilities, are co-ops. They're investor-owned utilities like an XL Energy, a co-op like Darien Power, and municipals that serve cities throughout the region. For this particular project that we call the Rochester Lacrosse Project, there's 5 partners, 5 utilities. Those 5 are right there. 3 of them based in or do business in Wisconsin. 4 out of those 5 utilities are nonprofits. The other one, XL Energy, is a highly regulated through both the state of Wisconsin, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Minnesota. Why are we building these transmission lines? In 2004, we started doing planning studies. We decided to do something unlike utilities had done in the past. And rather than each utility, each one of these 11 utilities, building separate transmission lines, we asked our planning engineers to look at whether it was possible to design a set of lines that utilities could invest in that would meet their needs. So rather than 11 utilities building 11, 15, 20 different lines, we were able to come up with 4 projects, about 730 miles total, and 4 projects with the 11 utilities as partners. So what we have is a project here that would run from Hampton, which is just southeast of the Twin Cities, down near Rochester, across that Holmen, and down to Lacrosse area. Why are we building these utility lines? That's the question. Why are they needed? Well, number one, local community reliability. We have not built transmission for the most part in the upper Midwest in 30 to 40 years, depending on what area you're looking at. And at some point, just like anything else, just like highways or other infrastructure, things start to run out of gas. In the Lacrosse metro area, you've seen significant growth, both population and electricity use. And at some point, the area needs to be served with a higher voltage line that will meet its future needs 30 to 40 years into the future. Now, there's been questions about, well, is this really needed? You know, we looked at, the experts went to work, they looked at the numbers, we looked at things like this past summer, just as an example. So I'm not talking about the past, I'm talking about just 2011. In July of 2011, we had a string of hot days. Every one of the 5 utilities in this project that are our partners broke a new peak demand record during that hot stretch. That means that we have to plan our system, not for so much a day like today when it's 40, 45 degrees out, not everybody's using their furnaces and whatnot, but we have to plan for those days when July 18th, for example, when I think it was 100 degrees down here, every utility broke a record. People, whether it's at home using their air conditioning or factories that are running at full throttle, we have to meet those needs. And not only that day when it hits that peak number, but we have to be able to meet under the federal standards that we have to live to. We have to meet it if another transmission line or a generation plant was knocked out because of a storm or some other type of catastrophic event. We immediately have to simultaneously transfer that electricity over and make sure that every one of your homes and businesses has electricity serving them. That's what we have to meet. That's what our system has to meet. So that's on the local community side, that's where we're at. This past the third quarter of 2011, XL Energy saw a 1.5 increase in electricity sales in western Wisconsin. Throughout the Midwest, we're seeing increases. Are they as great as they were in 2005, 2006? No. At that time, we were looking at 3, 4, 6% per year increases, depending on what part of the Midwest country you were in. What we're seeing today is anywhere from 0.5% to 2%, depending on what area you're in. But the truth is, folks, we have to look at the future. We have to look 30 to 40 years out. One of the lines that we're talking about upgrading and rebuilding with a 345 kilovolt line is a line that's owned by Dakota Power. 65 years old. 65 years that line has served this area and helped to make this area allow it to grow. We also look at the regional transmission system. It's not lines in Wisconsin, it's not lines in Minnesota. These lines serve the entire Midwest. They're all interconnected. So if you're a Dakota Power and you decided, as they did recently, to shut down 3 of their units at their coal plant in Holmen, they're able to do that type of thing because they can buy electricity anywhere throughout the Midwest with these interconnected lines. They can buy it the cheapest place possible. Darrowland, WPPI Energy, 2 of the partners in this project, they buy wind from wind farms in Minnesota and Iowa. To get that energy into Wisconsin, they need sufficient transmission. Same thing with Xcel Energy. What's happened is when you have this interconnected regional grid, one of the benefits is that you can buy that electricity from anywhere. And what we're seeing on our system, this is NSP, so this is Xcel Energy, Minnesota, Wisconsin, the Dakotas, is here's how things are changing in the utility world. 43% of their energy for Xcel came from coal in 2010. 2020, we see that number at 32%. Wind, renewables, mostly in the Midwest, that's wind. 19% of the energy coming from that in 2010. We see it at 26%. That's how this is changing. The benefits then go further. When you start this energy mix with more gas, more wind, and nuclear, what we're seeing on the NSP system is the benefits to the environment. Carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, you're seeing big drops as far as where that's going. Now, one other thing that I was going to mention is there is a lot of confusion, as Representative Dakota said. There's another line that is being led by ATC, American Transmission Company, out of Madison. They're transmission only. They have a number of utilities in Wisconsin that belong to it. They have proposed a line called the Badger Coulee line. It's a 345 kilovolt line. That is not yet, they have not yet filed a application with the Wisconsin Regulatory Agency, and I believe they plan to do so within the next year. That line would the 2 endpoints would be Madison and the substation that we're proposing at Briggs Road here in the Holmen area. Now I'm going to turn it over to Tom. Tom's the routing expert.